Hi everyone, this is Raised by Valea, and this is going to be the first of my bare bones bat rep. We're going to have the Sons of Behemat versus the Maggotkin of Nurgle. The Sons of Behemat, which are going to be played by me, Nikki, have a Kraken Eater Megagargant as the general, and he's coming in with the Glowy Lantern artifact as well as the artifact that gives him the 5+ feels no pain from the core rules. The Maggotkin of Nurgle have a Droning Guard army with a Poxbringer as the general. So the battle plan we're going to be doing is Power Struggle. I honestly kind of like this as a Sons of Behemat player, although it forces me to play a bit defensively and to try and cover a little bit of space. But even with my army being 5 models, I feel like I have the firepower to be able to cover and hold this space thanks to the Sons of Behemat's Mightier Makes Rightier rule. So, this is going to be the first round. I finished deploying first, and in the first turn of the first round, I decide to run my 3 big boys to the middle objective. And I did this because I felt that the middle objective is a good launching point for any future excursions into my enemy's territory if I need to. And if not, I can be able to respond to the enemy attempting to try and attack my objectives in the back of my territory with Kragnos and the War Stomper. I was, of course, going to use the Kraken Eater as the one holding the center, as he's the most defensively toughest model that I have. Now, granted, I was playing Nurgle. I was not aware of what the Maggotkin did, and especially the Plague Drones. And so I figured that I was going to be doing a little bit more forays into the enemy's territory than what I ended up actually doing in this fight. And we can see that right here. When Maggotkin take their turn, and the second turn of the first round, the Maggotkin send their plague drones forward, and they all get at least about halfway down the board, which for me, I was not expecting this kind of speed from Maggotkin. I did not know what to expect from the ability to fight from the plague drones, so I probably maybe was concerned about them more than what I needed to be. But I got these man crushers, they're 5+ saves, and at best only one of them can get a +1 save from the all-out defense command. And so after seeing this advance, I figured I needed to send the War Stomper and Kragnos to shore up those back 2 objectives, because at least I'm in a winning position as long as I hold 3 objectives out of the 5. So over here is the first initial combat. The Maggotkin player unfortunately drug Kragnos into the combat with his pile-in of my Kraken Eater, and for him, thankfully at least, Kragnos was not able to beat the Plague Drones. There was still one left over, which was going to ruin my next round because I was hoping for Kragnos to have a little bit more freedom of movement, especially to attack the 4 heroes that my opponent happens to have that wandered out of his territory in the center of the board. Uh, that unfortunately was not the way it was going to happen in this. So, so I win priority for the second round. I'm actually going to be scoring the 3 objectives I control for this round as well. I send the War Stomper to charge into some plague drones while I have Kragnos retreat, because I'm going to use Kragnos as a screen for my much weaker and, in my opinion, much more fragile Man Crusher. And with the War Stomper holding the back left of the board, I was able to send the other Man Crusher to go in and help there as well, because at least if I can get that Man Crusher in support of the one on the bottom right, that's going to free up Kragnos to go wander around into my opponent's territory in about a turn or two. Or at least so I thought. So here we are at the combats right now. The War Stomper is going to be taking it to a group of Plague Drones, and the Kraken Eater is going to hold its own just fine, honestly, although it's not going to beat entirely that unit of Plague Bearers still. Mega Gargants obviously don't do as much damage as what Kragnos does, but they're infinitely way more survivable, so that way if I need to bring the hammer, or in this case the Dread Mace, I can at least know that my Mega Gargants aren't going to fall while I try and get the movement of Kragnos to get him where I need to get him. So this is going to be the second turn of the second round, Maggotkin's turn, and over here on the left side, we see that the Maggotkin player is going to attempt to try and take their Plague Drones and go toe-to-toe with the War Stomper, just do his best damage that it can do. We got these Plague Drones over here by Kragnos, and from that first round, the Maggotkin player decide that discretion's the better part of valor, and so they just reposition themselves in anticipation for hoping, I think, that if they get priority for round 3, they'll be able to charge into the Mega Gargant in the back, circling around Kragnos as a screen. Maggotkin are actually going to get priority for the third round, so after all these combats done, and this is the state of the game here, the Maggotkin player is able to generate some corruption points in order to get working with Nurgle's summoning. So, at the start of their turn, they're going to do their movements. They're going to summon actually a unit of 20 Plague Bearers. And the initial thoughts behind my opponent was that the 4 heroes by the Kraken Eater and those Plague Bearers were going to attack the Kraken Eater, while at least those Plague Drones near Kragnos are going to circle around to the Man Crusher in the back and take that out, and hopefully bring in support in order to claim the objective, since Kragnos only counts as 5 men on that objective versus the Man Crusher counting as the 15. However, he got a really good charge roll. He got a 12 on the charge for the Plague Bearers. So he decided he's going to send 20 Plague Bearers at Kragnos. He's going to send his Plague Drones at my Man Crusher, and I think he was hoping that his Plague Drones were going to beat my Man Crusher, and that the Plague Bearers, even though they're going to be getting in combat with Kragnos, at least enough of them will survive, so that way he'll have probably about 6 models left versus Kragnos just counting as 5 and a dead Man Crusher on my side. Over here where the War Stomper's at, it's not really going too well. The War Stomper's counting as 30 units on that objective. He does retreat a unit of Plague Drones, that way it's going to lock my War Stomper in that area after the War Stomper clears out the enemies that are nearest to him, keeping me from being able to move him forward on that left side. So, after my opponent's turn is done, unfortunately, his entire unit of Plague Bearers is going to be deleted by Kragnos. Sons of Behemat's player's turn. On the bottom of the third round, Kragnos is going to go actually in support of the Kraken Eater. The Maggotkin players sent their general along with a Sloppity Bile Piper and a Spoilpox Scrivener to attack my Kraken Eater. I take the battle tactic that says I should slay a general, and Kragnos is able to make the move, make the charge, and we're able to beat up on the general over there. The War Stomper's holding his own just fine. Meanwhile, I'm going to get the second Man Crusher in support of the one that's fighting the Plague Drones where they're at. There's, of course, going to be a lot of combat that happens in round. What's important for the Sons of Behemat player is that they're going to slay the general, thus getting their battle tactic. The Man Crushers beat up a little bit on the Plague Drones. The War Stomper continues to stomp things. Unfortunately, time runs out at our friendly local game store, so we can't actually finish this match. We actually also missed the eating of the objective that you're supposed to be able to get to in a third round, that may have influenced my opponent to maybe go second instead of going first, but I think he wanted to go first because he wanted the double turn anyway. So here's our final. Sons of Behemat wins on a timeout after the game, 15-8. My opinions on this right now, and this is me being honestly really new to competitive. I'm trying to get familiar with Sons of Behemat for a tournament coming up in October. And so my impressions of it so far have been that I want to be more aggressive with them. And primarily the way for me to be aggressive with them is with Kragnos. Uh, he actually isn't nearly as much a target I find by my opponents as the Mega Gargants. My opponents always see the Mega Gargants and they go, I have to break it down. And it kind of makes a little bit sense. They're 30 models for holding an objective. And you're never going to hold an objective as long as it's still alive. So you got to bring it down. Now, the War Stomper's an easier one to bring down than my Kraken Eater with a 5+ Feel No Pain. But even still, you have to go through a lot to get them. And when Kragnos can come running in support of them, that puts you on a clock to try and beat a Mega Gargant. And that's not a clock that a lot of people I found so far are able to beat. The Man Crushers, of course, are really super frail. I haven't had yet really a game that anyone actually goes after them, so I don't know what my reactions are going to be to what's my army like if my baby Gargants are dead. So that will be something interesting, I think, for the near future. As far as playing against Maggotkin, I was talking to my opponent after the game, and the things that I told him that I could see what Maggotkin would want to do, what they need to do a little bit more of. I think the summoning is probably one of the better things that they have because that is obviously a very resilient army. The problem he had in this game is that whereas Maggotkin wants to be resilient and have models on objectives to claim objectives to just basically squat on them, they can't generate the amount of bodies needed to overcome a Mega Gargant squatting on it. And the Mega Gargants just themselves are probably almost as resilient as Maggotkin of Nurgle in terms of if you want to get 30 counts of models off an objective in a Mega Gargant army, you gotta go through those 35 wounds of the Mega Gargant. They're never going to be less than 30, it's just 30 and 0. And the Maggotkin, even as resilient as they are, they can still lose models to fighting these Gargants and the high offensive output that, say, Kragnos can put out. So I kind of described it to my friend, the Maggotkin player, as everything he wants to do, Sons of Behemat was just doing better. Sons of Behemat can squat an objective better. They stick around a long time because they just grind down the opponent with their output, and the Kragnos really helps a lot with that. And about the only advantage they kind of really had is you have the summoning to bring back things, so getting more corruption points and summoning points is, I think, really key for Maggotkin just in general right now. And the plague drones were nice, they were fast, they could claim an objective, but honestly, I don't think my opponent was using them more as a skirmishing, harassing unit, and he probably needed to play them more as a forward attacking, uh, behind the lines saboteur type of unit. He should have just kept going towards, I think, the baby Gargants and trying to kill them and take models away from me rather than hope to try and use them as roadblocks against my army. Now, granted, I'd never played Maggotkin before, so I never knew what I was getting into with the plague drones. I gotta say, I'm very surprised at the output Maggotkin have in terms of damage. Uh, Sloppity Bottle Piper, Spoilpox Scrivener, yeah, no, they were great. And at least one thing I love about them, because Maggotkin did the way my opponent was playing them, did this one thing that it tweaks this thing I love in games like this. They're very board complex and stacking their auras and mixing with the commands. You can get a lot of aura shenanigans going with the Maggotkin, with the Spoilpox Scrivener, and the Sloppity Bile Piper. And so that at least like tickled a little something in my brain that makes me love board complexity, because at least if there's one thing you're not getting with the Sons of Behemat right now is you're not getting a lot of board complexity, except as you're trying to maximize threat space with them with a small number of models. And that's always, I think, going to be the problem with Sons of Behemat is you need to maximize the space you're able to threaten with your army working in a cohesive type of unit. So here's the end credits. I'm the Sons of Behemat player, Nikki Ducote. The Maggotkin of Nurgle player is my friend Harley Amon. And all production of this is by me, Nikki Ducote. Thank you for listening to my bare bones bat rep with some meat on it. I hope you enjoyed it. Please support me on Patreon and like and subscribe this and leave comments. Good day, everyone.